This strategic plan focuses on improving daily breakfast and physical activity among high school students to improve health outcomes. High school age is a time of profound changes, both physiologically and emotionally, and health behaviors are often formed during this time. Over 60% of students in grades 10 through 12 reported that they do not eat breakfast daily. The first issue addressed in this plan is improving daily breakfast outcomes among high school students to impact overall health and performance. The main barrier to daily breakfast has been cited as time constraints and busy morning schedules. Students reported that they prefer extra sleep over making time for breakfast, and that they're often unable to eat school breakfast due to late arriving buses or rides. In addition to time constraints, students do not feel hungry when breakfast is being offered. This can impact metabolism negatively, which may lead to weight gain, and it also contributes to cognitive skills, mental health, emotional well-being, and academic performance. In addition, not eating breakfast wreaks havoc on the body by decreasing intake of energy, protein, fiber, calcium, and folate, which are most often provided by nutrient-dense breakfast foods. This has long-term implications. The National School Lunch and Breakfast programs increase access to nutritious foods for low-income students. However, in the state of California, there's evidence supporting the fact that older low-income students are less likely to participate than younger students, and overall an average of 72% of eligible students participate in the program, leaving many students without breakfast. In addition, social stigma becomes a deterrent as children enter high school, and breakfast programs are labeled for poor kids. To increase participation for high school students in California, a state-level policy is needed to require alternative breakfast models that incorporate grab-and-go options and allow all students to eat breakfast outside of the classroom, which would address common deterrents and increase access. Ideally, this policy would not come at an additional cost to schools, as those who offer free and reduced price breakfast would be able to make up for any lost revenue due to increased participation. Each school district would have the option of the service model that best fits their existing infrastructure and resources, keeping in mind that some new equipment and supplies may be needed up front, ranging from $2,000 to $4,000, in order to provide stations for the grab-and-go bags. This cost may be a challenge for implementation in some districts and will likely cause some opposition. However, stations can be supplemented by using existing tables, and then the only real cost necessary would be meal bags, cleaning supplies, and trash bags to keep startup costs low. There will likely be pushback from teachers and staff who feel that eating in classrooms is disruptive and that additional cleanup will be needed. This makes the school staff an integral stakeholder of the program, and buy-in will be needed. Having an open discussion about what works for each specific school may help alleviate concerns, such as allowing 10 to 15 minutes during homeroom announcements for students to eat, and getting feedback from food service personnel and custodial staff on how best to meet the program goals with existing resources. Currently, only 50% of U.S. adolescents meet physical activity guidelines of 60 minutes per day. The second focus of this program addresses increasing regular physical activity among high school students during school hours. Reasons cited by adolescents are time constraints and lack of motivation, in addition to a preference for sedentary behaviors. Health behaviors have been shown to impact grades and school performance, and students with higher grades are also more likely to exercise at least 5 days a week and less likely to engage in sexual activity, drink alcohol before the age of 13, or smoke cigarettes. High school students who do not engage in regular physical activity are at increased risk of chronic disease such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, as well as overweight and obesity, which currently impacts 30% of all high school students. Regular exercise contributes to healthy bone and muscle development, reduces depression and anxiety, and promotes psychological well-being. Physical activity at school through recess, PE, classroom, and extracurricular activities has been found to have a positive impact on cognitive skills, attitudes, and academic behavior. There remains a huge disparity among state-level requirements and implementation for physical education and activity programs, with only 27% of high school students meeting recommended activity amounts. In 2004, Congress passed the Child Nutrition and Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children Reauthorization Act, which requires that all schools participating in the National School Lunch and Breakfast programs create local school wellness policies that promote and strengthen student health through 5 wellness initiatives, physical activity being one of them. In most states, no policy exists for required physical activity in secondary schools. To encourage California schools to adopt more strategies that help children participate in physical activity during school hours, collaborating with the California State Board of Education must occur to make a real impact. The physical activity aspect of these local school wellness policies needs to be more prescriptive to require additional opportunities for activity throughout the school day, such as morning activities in the classroom, workout classes and walks during lunch and study halls, and integrating activity into academics. Guidance from the School Health Advisory Council and each individual school district will be necessary for program implementation buy-in from policymakers, school boards, and district leaders. The challenge for policymakers will likely be the action needed in schools, which are singular entities that carry the interest of many other levels of influence, such as communities, families, and governments, which is why all stakeholders are equally important. Offering additional ways for children to be active during the school day should be of minimal cost if existing resources can be utilized. However, partnering with local community foundations or school district health and wellness committees would provide potential funding opportunities and strengthen the program resources to bring additional offerings to schools. This program will partner with the California Collaborative to introduce and pilot a new program in a handful of school districts. The first component of the plan will be to incorporate district-wide health and wellness coordinators to implement the program components, as all national school lunch programs are required to have wellness programs in place as well. Studies show that hiring and utilizing school health and wellness program coordinators is critical to success, and schools who have them found that they provide value in utilizing existing resources more efficiently, raising awareness and promotion of health issues, staff development, supporting school leadership, and identifying community resources. In addition, schools with limited resources considered them a worthy investment. The coordinators will receive training, which is the main cost of this program, and they will use a framework of essential elements to develop and implement the program components outlined so it is conducive to each individual school environment. They will lead staff training and development to ensure all staff stakeholders are onboarded. The Wellness Coordinator will work with the health educators at each school to implement education content during predetermined health and physical education classes. This begins with education on eating breakfast daily, with health educators explaining what happens to the body when a meal is missed versus how the body thrives with regular healthy meals. Using the theory of active involvement, introducing the students to what constitutes a healthy breakfast, and providing them with a sneak peek of the grab-and-go breakfast options that will soon be offered will lead way to a session of discussion and feedback on other items to potentially include in the breakfast bags. In addition, students will be asked for their thoughts on other ways to incorporate healthy, appealing breakfast throughout the school for daily consumption. This theory proposes that through this active involvement, engaged adolescents will elicit more attention and personal interest in the topic. The theory of planned behavior will be used as the model for the course content around physical activity, which proposes that self-efficacy and setting goals is most successful to overcoming barriers. The health instructors will deliver the education to students, stressing the importance of being physically active, both for their health and weight, which will be of utmost concern for most students. In addition, the classes will discuss perceived barriers to incorporating more activity and work as a group to identify ways to overcome them. Goal setting will then occur in small groups so each student can determine specific activities and times to incorporate them during school. In addition, brainstorming the best activities and ideal times for the school to offer activities will keep students involved in decisions that impact them. Lastly, students will be challenged at an all-school assembly and again during their individual PE classes to compete in the Health Off competition. This tasks students with eating a healthy breakfast each morning and incorporating 30 minutes of activity each day for the next 3 months. Each PE class will encompass one team, and the classes will compete against each other to win a Fitbit Flex 2 for each student in the winning class. Text reminders will serve as advertisements to keep the challenge top of mind. In the morning, the text will remind the students about the challenge, and in the evening, a survey link will be texted to each student asking them to report on their ability to achieve the day's goals. For each PE class participating, BMI measurements will be taken pre- and post-intervention to assess changes in body weight. In addition, Likert scale surveys will be given pre- and post-intervention as well to determine the value of the educational content, as ideally, perceptions and attitudes will be impacted positively. The survey link sent out daily will serve as a way to track adherence to the competition guidelines and help determine the winning team. Teachers involved will also be surveyed to understand their perception of the program and understand improvements that can be made for a more seamless implementation for future iterations of the program.